Hello, welcome to Trans in the Am. I'm your host, Aaron Green. Today we have with us Emily Whitelaw. We're going to be talking about some really cool stuff. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi. So you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi. Yeah, I'm Emily. I am a uh, American Canadian trans singer songwriter. And I am here to hang out and talk about some music things, talk about the intersection of voice and gender and whatnot. And yeah,
Hell
hello.
yeah. I'm all
Nice
about
to
it.
meet you and
Thank you.
everything. I mean, like, this
Yeah,
is the first time we've ever talked on Discord, so yeah.
that's true. That's true. We are kind of just like jumping into it head first. I like
Yeah.
it. So, very cool. Yeah. Well, welcome. It's nice to have you. This is the first of what I plan to do is like once every Friday. I'm sure you saw the tweet. I plan to just like find somebody that's trans that I can talk to. Probably a creator or somebody working on a project or something to promote or something like that. And just like have a conversation rather than the usual 3 or 4 minute episode that's Monday through Thursday. So we're kind of like featuring somebody from the community and just spotlighting them and stuff like that. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this. So welcome to the first of that.
Thank you. I didn't realize this is the first one ever. I'm honored
Oh yeah,
to be debuting this segment with you.
absolutely. Well, thank you. Yeah, my partner had suggested I do a segment where I gossip with somebody and call it green tea or something like that. The Aaron green
Nice.
tea or something. I don't know.
That's good.
That's
I
silly.
like it.
I don't know about gossip. That's a little too much. But yeah, so you're into music. You said you were trained originally as a male singer and then retrained as a female singer. Is that right?
Well, so sort of. I've not really classically trained as a singer as a woman. Like I was in college for composition until last year. And was I've had been having voice lessons all my life up until then, but I came out only a little over a year ago. And it's been an interesting adventure coming to terms with the way my voice sounds and the way my singing voice sounds specifically.
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of resources out there for trans people who for voice training to make your speaking voice sound more feminine. um, and that's great, and I am working on that as well, but I've had a very hard time finding anything about like how to be a singer who is trans and wants to not like there are some trans singers who just like sing baritone professionally, and like that's awesome. There's a famous, I don't remember her name, but there's a famous opera singer who's trans
Hmm.
who sings baritone. um and that is incredibly impressive to me, but it's not something that I am able to come to terms with as a person. I'm kind of lucky because uh, for the couple of years before I came out, I was learning to sing countertenor, which is like I you might know this, but for anyone in your audience who doesn't, it's uh, the classical like male alto or male soprano
Hmm.
singing role. It's a lot of you essentially sing almost exclusively in your head voice, or work through the break between like the normal male range and the head voice range. And I really love that. It's great for singing early music like Baroque and Renaissance music, that sort of thing. There's a lot of music for countertenor in there. Um, but it but it's also a very specifically like male tradition, so while I did enjoy that, I try not to think of myself like when I try not to think of the way I sing now as being like a countertenor, because that's a thing that is not like who I am anymore. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? um so so now I'm trying to like work with what I've got and figure out how to be a singer who has a male voice but is a woman. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an adventure.
No, I totally see it. I've personally kind of taken, for the moment anyway, the Doctor Girlfriend approach to it. Um, are you familiar with the Venture Brothers?
I am not.
So Venture Brothers is an animated series that's kind of like a parody of like the Hardy Boys and the Mystery Solving Brothers and
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that.
sure.
It's pretty absurd. It was featured on Adult Swim for a long time, and one of the main antagonists is the Monarch, and he
Okay.
dresses up in a butterfly costume, and he's really flamboyant and has a flair for the theater and stuff like that, and
Nice.
his partner is Doctor Girlfriend, who, for all intents and purposes, has a very, very deep voice.
Yeah.
Like, there have been questions about whether Dr. Girlfriend was a canonically trans character. And in one of the episodes, she's in the bathroom, and some other women come in and they hear her talk. And they're like, "Do you belong in here?" And she's like, "Yes, I just have a deep voice." Like, I love it, honestly.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
I've just kind of been embracing whatever voice I have. I don't honestly have the time to do any kind of voice training or anything anyway. So it's really great to hear from people who've taken that effort to go through the process of doing some voice training, and hear from them. And it's always nice hearing from people in various stages of like voice training
Yeah.
and stuff like that, because the experience is always different from stage to stage. So it's very cool. But yeah, no, singing is really awesome. I listened to a couple of the tracks that you had sent me,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah, no, Swallowtail, I really, really love. This was so great. Like, I
Yeah, that sorry, go
y-
ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah, I'd love to hear you talk about the track. So, what kind of like went into writing it, and what kind of like experiences were you building on there?
Yeah, so that's my newest piece that I've recorded. I've written a couple of songs since then, but it's um a much longer process to do the actual production than to, just crank something out and write it. Um so I wrote it in I think May of this year. And it was sort of uh a spur of the moment sort of inspiration thing. I wasn't actually like it was I don't remember what it was exactly, but I was just thinking about butterflies. I was thinking about there's a famous quote from something or other. I don't know if it's a book or a movie or a game or what, but about how butterflies, in order to be able to fly, they have to they have to struggle to squeeze their way out of their cocoon,
Hmm.
because it pushes the juice, for lack of a better word,
Sure.
from their body out into their wings. Um, so if you were to crack open a butterfly's cocoon and release it without it being able to get out, or without it having to work to get out, it wouldn't be able to fly. And I think it's an excellent metaphor for a lot of things,
Hmm.
including in some ways the trans experience, because it's a not only is there a metamorphosis going on in a variety of ways, but also it is a uh, for most people, I think it is a struggle, both to accept yourself, to find acceptance from others, to understand yourself as this new person. So I decided to use that as uh, a perhaps very on the nose metaphor, but uh, I think it came out pretty well, lyrically speaking.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I if you want to play a little if you want me to
Yeah.
play a so the form of this song, it the way I develop metaphors, I start out from the perspective of a person who's watching a butterfly, um, and uh, who's waiting for her wings to dry and fly off. And there's and then the metaphor shifts into the perspective of the butterfly, talking about the person observing them.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm going to try to find where that little bit starts. Okay, I think this is it. Yep, it is. All right, I'm going to back up a little bit. So I'm just going to play this this little segment here. Okay, sorry if this is
No, you're fine.
causing a lot of editing. But yeah, there we go. All right.
You sized me up with your naturalist's eye, and I didn't know how to react. I hope that I please you, I hope you'll be gentle, I hope you release me intact. I pray I'm enough for you, darling, in this alien form that I own. I don't know what it feels like to love me, but I hope that it feels like home, 'cause I've still got the dew on my wings. I don't know what the sunshine will bring, but you say I'm beautiful, and that is enough for me. Never felt so alive as I do now. I'm finally free, 'cause I've still got the dew on my wings. I don't know what the morning will bring, but I'm learning to fly, and for now that's enough for me. Never felt so alive as I do now. I'm finally free. Never felt so alive as I do now. I'm finally free.
So yeah, that is that. Let me see how to stop my screen share real quick. Yeah, so that kind of ties back a little bit into what I was talking about before about the voice thing, because as you can hear with this, I'm singing in a tenor register. I'm not singing in that head voice thing for almost any of this song. And so the challenge for me, thinking like when I was getting it ready to perform, was how do I make my voice sound how I want it to sound without having to rely on like being up in the stratosphere, because it's a contemplative sort of introspective song that I didn't think really needed to have a lot of sort of high pitch stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually really pleased with how my voice sounded on this one, because as people who do the whole voice training thing will tell you, the femininity or masculinity of one's voice is about a lot more than pitch, and a lot of it is the breathiness of the tone, or the timbre, the way the sound sits in your in the whole superstructure of your face
Mm-hmm.
and your throat. There's a fascinating amount of science behind it, but ultimately it comes down to listening to myself a whole bunch of times and trying to see if I like how I sound.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm pleased with this work a lot, and I thought this was some of my best lyrical writing that I've done as well. So if you, I don't know, sorry, I don't mean to talk at length,
No,
but
absolutely.
if there are any questions you have about it, about the lyrics or the music or the voice thing or anything, go for
No,
it.
I think the trans allegory came through really strong, and I really like that. I really appreciated that. It's not as strong in a lot of other music, and you're familiar with Laura Jane Grace?
No, I'm not. I
Oh,
would love to be
um,
though. I'm
uh,
always looking for new music.
are you familiar with Against Me, a punk
Nope.
band? So yeah, actually, when I was probably around, oh, this was around 2010, 2011 or something. Um, Maybe a little bit earlier than that, actually. But Laura Jane Grace is a transgender artist.
Cool.
Against Me is a really, really big punk band. They
Oh, awesome.
rival Rise Against, actually, with as far as like listenership goes sometimes. And
Cool.
they've actually had like a little bit of like cooperation, a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of tussle there with the two bands. But um, Laura Jane came out in, I think it was like 2008 or somewhere between there. I'm not entirely sure on the timeline. That whole area is foggy for me. But
Yeah.
she came out and I really looked up to her. I started listening to a lot more of her music after she came out. And
Cool.
it's, yeah, you should definitely check her out. And a lot of the older music of Against Me actually has some trans metaphors in it too, so that's pretty interesting.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
absolutely.
I I've only written 2 songs total that have had overt uh trans themes in them because I as someone who's just like, well, I've been writing music for a very long time, but I'm only just now trying to make something of a career out of it.
Mhm.
And I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just being someone who writes about trans things, but it's an important part of who I am right now, you know.
Yeah,
And I also, you know, I like writing this kind of music in this space where, you know, I listen to I'm listen to a lot of trans musicians and I'm enthusiastic about all kinds of different music. Um, and I when I came out, I'm like, I don't write, you know, beat boop electronic music. And everyone at the time, everyone that I knew, like all my friends who I knew who were trans, who were composers
yeah,
or musicians of one type or another, all wrote experimental electronic music. And I was like, um, that you know, I wish I was one of those cool kids, right? But
right.
all I've got is my guitar and my voice. Um, but I'm figuring out like a place for myself in a space where, you know, I'm my voice is really exposed. That's a thing that's kind of scary to me. I think that I I suspect that one of the reasons that, you know, many trans artists go towards electronic music, especially singers, is that, you know, there's a lot you can do to manipulate the way your voice sounds and do really there's cool stuff you can do um, that you know, allows you to put a buffer between yourself and some of that dysphoria. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, and I'm one of my fears being a sort of indie folk singer is that I don't really have anything in my genre or my toolkit to put that buffer, you know, to keep myself from being really vulnerable about the way that my voice sounds. Um, but I think there's also some beauty in that, you know. I think that it's uh I think that vulnerability is often good in music, and I even though it's scary, I want to, you know, I want to put it out there like, hey, yes, uh I don't have the voice that, you know, like I don't have Joni Mitchell's voice, right? Like she's one of my, you
right.
know, favorite musicians, but I, you know, I'm
Mhm.
never going to sound like that. But I can sound like me and I can figure out how to be a trans person in this musical space, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome. And it's funny that you mention being vulnerable because that's the next thing I was going to tell you, actually, is that
Oh, yeah.
I think the vulnerability is something that appeals to me as part of that type of music. And you said that you're always open for new music. So, but yeah, no, I can feel it when when the when the singers are passionate in their song and it like resonates with me deeply. Like those songs
Yeah,
stand out to me. The ones that like have a lot of that, they really stick out and they like stay on my favorites playlist all the fucking time. So
nice.
I like that kind of like raw, open honesty of it, and I think a lot of your music has that too. And that other track that you sent me, I think if I'm remembering it right, that's the one that has the line that's like, I'm not sure how to ask you this, but can I be your girlfriend? And I really
Yes.
fucking like that. That's like
Yeah.
super raw and honest and just like straight from the heart and like all the walls down. I really love it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it.
And I am really proud of that song, because well, it I wrote it at well, I wasn't out yet when I wrote that song, and in fact, that's how I came out to my parents and most of the people in my life. Actually, was I just put that out into the world and was like, here it is, you know.
Nice.
Um, and when I listen to it, there are a lot of there's a lot of fault that I can find both in my, I mean, at the time I was recording in just like a very suboptimal space, really echoey room with lots like it was, it was a bit of a disaster. But and so and my singing wasn't what I wanted it to be all the time, but I listened to it and I'm like, it captures a moment in time, of who I was at that moment. And I think that's yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I really liked it. I think it's interesting because a lot of that more kind of grungy, raw, almost like garage band kind of sound is really appreciated amongst kind of like punky audiences and folky audiences and stuff like that. And I think the type of music that you're in is like straight up like where people would appreciate that, especially where they're more into like the meaning of the music rather than specifically like, oh, you didn't play this note perfectly.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're not hoity-toity like classical artists are. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
So,
Um. Oh, on that. I should mention about that song as well,
mm-hmm,
because it's it's one of my favorite tracks that I've ever put out, and it is it was a collaboration with my friend Xenia St. Charles Gilbert, who is a classical or like new music, art music composer and a fiddle player, and I was making this album at the time, and I got in touch with her and I said, "Hey, would you like to uh, play on this piece that I'm writing?" And I don't know if I mentioned this already, but she's trans as well, which is
mm-hmm.
why um, or it's a part of. I mean, she's also just an incredible musician, so that was one of the main reasons that I reached out to her. But uh, the other reason was that it was a song about being trans and about coming out, and um, she had come out like between 6 months and a year before me, and I really look up to her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I was like, "Hey, do you want to play on this?" She said yes. And she improvised the entire fiddle part. She's in fact not only I was like, "Hey, can you improvise a fiddle part?" And she said sure. And then she sent me three and was like, "Pick between these." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then it turns
Wow.
out that not only did she send me three separate fiddle parts to accompany this track, but they in several places they had created these beautiful harmonies, and went together in really
Oh.
interesting and exciting ways that so I was able to edit them together and kind of and do cool things with that. Anyway, I just wanted to mention her because she's an incredible musician and was a huge part of what made that piece really good. And on that note, if I could screen share again real quick, I want to
Yeah.
play just a tiny bit
Go
of
for it.
the thing. Let me just find the right spot.
Yeah, if you want to send me some of her links, I will post them on the
Yeah.
description
Oh,
of the video
absolutely.
too.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send you them on Twitter afterwards. Okay, here we go. Oh, whoops. Sorry, didn't mean to turn off my camera. Let's
Oh, you're
share
fine.
screen. All right. So I'm just gonna play this this little verse here, and
Mhm.
it goes the part that's really great where this is really mostly, I mean, I'm pleased with the lyrics in this section, but this is really about the fiddle part. There's just an incredible bit in here, so I just want to play that.
So here I am. I'm standing right in front of you. I'm saying what I know is true. Laying it out on the line. And if you want, you could turn around and walk away. I wouldn't blame you if you did. But I hope that you'll stay. Stay by me. See
This is this bit here.
again, let me try to replace who you lost. The die has been cast and there's no turning back when the Rubicon's banks have been crossed. So as I once held you and said you were beautiful, please won't you sit with me now? As I finally get up the courage to say to you, pray to you, won't you somehow let me be your girlfriend? I finally come here to tell you, the awkward young man that you once knew, he's a dear anymore. She left his good girlfriend with a long Valentine. The awkward young man that you once knew, he's a dear anymore. She left his corridor. She left his corridor. She left his corridor. She left his corridor. I left his corridor.
Very good. I like it.
Yeah, but anyway, that the main reason I wanted to play that is just because when I listen to this track sometimes, and when I get to that little bridge section where this the fiddle is just doing this like soaring solo over like all up in the stratosphere, it's arcing around, it's doing just incredible stuff, and I just play that little bit over and over and over again because I'm like, oh, it's so good. Anyway, but let's see, how do I other and that actually, I presented this song at a little like composers forum thing at university, and the thing that got me thinking about this like voice and gender thing is that I got a really interesting question about it, which was like I'm in that section. I have two tracks of myself singing, one up in like the higher register and one down, in the lower one. And someone was like, does that, you know, was that like a text tone painting thing where like, did that have significance to the whole idea of gender and voice and whatnot? And I was like, and I hadn't been thinking about it at the time, but I think it's an interesting subject because like, even though that wasn't like a key point in my thought process when I was writing this song, like it was in the back of my mind because I'm like, where do I put this in a place where it's going to sound good in my voice, and where am I not going to sound super mannish to use that sort of obnoxious expression, but
Right.
um I thought that was kind of interesting because even though I wasn't consciously thinking about like the literal the connotation of the registers and the style in which I was singing, it was in the back of my mind all the time because I'm like, how do I make this sound like who I am?
Hmm.
Like how do I match the singing with the lyrics, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, and this is an interesting album because this song there's this, and then there's a bunch of other songs where I'm just that I just written in the mindset of I'm not out yet and I'm singing as a dude.
Right.
So there's some interesting, and there's places where things bleed through in the lyrics of the other stuff. But yeah, this was, as you might be able to hear, uh, the way I sing is pretty significantly different now. Like in the
Right.
song that I played earlier from a couple of months ago, whereas this was written over a year ago.
Hmm.
Um, and some of that has been conscious, and some of that has not been. But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
lost my train of thought a little bit there.
Oh no, you're fine. No, I think you have a beautiful voice, honestly.
Thank you.
So yeah, no, I love your music. I love the folky attitude you're going for with it, and I'd love to hear more of it, honestly. So I'm gonna
Awesome.
be digging through that YouTube channel. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna be watching all those videos.
Well, I'm gonna be releasing some new stuff pretty soon. Um I have a lot of songs that are in the works right now. Enough that I might be making an album soon. Um
Ah.
I've written among the stuff that is not out yet, there's a couple of interesting things. There's one that I'm trying to cut down a lot because it's quite long, but it's called Marcia and Tara, and it's about these lovers who are born on different planets. One of them is born on Mars and one of them is born on Earth, and they're trying to, and they uh, it's really just a sort of general metaphor for long distance
Hmm.
relationships and how much they suck. But it's it's I thought it was an interesting way to explore that because there aren't a whole lot of songs out there that dive into the sort of science fiction realm.
Yeah.
Um, there are some notable exceptions. I like there's that famous song "Space Girl," which I love and was part of the inspiration for writing that piece. Um, but yeah, and then there's another one that I wrote recently that's quite a bit shorter. I could actually, if you would like a little preview of the stuff that I'm working on, I have my guitar right
Oh.
here. I could
Oh my goodness.
show you this new number. I mean, it won't be it won't be amazing because it's through my crappy mic with no editing. But would that be cool? If I
Yeah, go for it. This
play a
is
little
your
thing real quick?
time. Go for it. Whatever you want to do.
Awesome.
I love this.
I'm gonna just tune real quick. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna take my headphones off so that I can
Yeah.
hear a little better, and I'm gonna pull up. So, full disclosure, this one's a little bit on the saucy side. I was writing some in minor, and I had had some recent inspiration, and I wrote a little bit of an interesting song with some fun lyrics. I hope that's all right.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be releasing this officially in probably a couple of months, along with some of my other music. But consider this a sneak preview for anyone who watches it.
Excellent.
You lie atop me, and you look into my eyes. Midnight shade, reflecting all the warm light. You smile and place a finger to your lips, and you drown me. You drown me in your kiss. Like some ancient ursine predator, you coil, set to hunt me down and tear my soul apart. You trace the eager skin that longs for this, and you melt me, you melt me to your hips. Tender devil in the night, teach me sinful wrong from right. Show me all the lovely wrongs you ask. I'm your servant, I'm your prize. Keep me captive in your eyes. Use my body, use my flesh to set. All your life you've had to hide your love away. A sick taboo to never see the light of day. But in the darkness, all your fears are cast aside. And you scald me with your cry. So we blossom like two flowers in the dark. Stir the embers, showering the night in sparks. Hold me as the hours pass us by. As you burn me till I die. Tender devil in the night, teach me sinful wrong from right. Show me all the lovely wrongs you ask of me. I'm your servant, I'm your prize. Keep me captive in your eyes. Use my body, use my flesh to set you free. Tender devil in the night, teach me sinful wrong from right. Show me all the lovely wrongs you ask of me. I'm your servant, I'm your prize. Keep me captive in your eyes. Use my body, use my flesh to set you free. Use my body, use my flesh to set you free.
Yeah, bravo! Oh, that was amazing! I loved every
Thank
moment
you.
of that. Holy shit! Ah! Oh, I
Thank
feel
you
so
so much.
special. Oh,
I hope it sounded all right over the mic with no.
yeah. No, it sounded great. I loved it. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for that. That was
Thank you.
awesome. I'm
Thanks for
so
letting me.
excited.
Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah, that's all I have really to say for myself.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for letting me play that for you.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
I
It was
hope
a
that
delight.
I hope that editing out all my umming and stuttering and nonsense and rambling on won't be too much of a hassle.
No, no, no. You're fine. You're fine. We'll get
Awesome.
it all taken care of. But yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. This was wonderful having you here. I'm
Thank you.
definitely going to plug all your shit in the comments, so get down there and get to clicking. Get to
Awesome.
clicking. So yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some other kind of event maybe sometime in the future. I would love to have you on again. Thank you so much
I
for
would love
coming
that.
out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you.
yes. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We will see you all tomorrow. Or, no, wait. Today's Friday, right? So it'll be Monday. Okay. Yes. See you Monday. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye bye.